I'm allergic to bees. I can't do that stuff at all. J.D. Vance detonates deep state media lies, expose MS-13 operative defunded by Obama's old propagandist. J.D. Vance just torched a deep state operation wide open. A brutal MS-13 gang member, declared as such by immigration judge, was deported to El Salvador's CICOT supervision, and the regime media lost its mind. Why? Because this wasn't about justice. It was about protecting a violent foot soldier in their black market empire.
Ask permission from far left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants. We do the American people's business. And again, for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from. They've gone off the deep end, and they got
over 100,000 deported so far. We're just getting started. Border crackdown, 100,000 deported so far. Las Vegas MS-13 terrorist and gang leader guilty of 11 murders arrested on Long Island. ICE whistleblower, I detained hundreds of illegals with active voting cards. They bragged to me about controlling U.S. elections. Trump invites president of El Salvador to the White House. Your support of my efforts to combat illegal immigration is greatly appreciated. I would be sweating bullets if I was one of the people down there in that super prison they have down there in El Salvador. It doesn't look like those guys are going to get out of there anytime soon. And Jesse Waters and Stephen Miller. Boy, this is a good exchange. Listen.
What the hell is going on here, Miller?
Well, first of all, I think that's the first ever filibuster in American history from Cory Booker in favor of getting men into women's sports, keeping our borders open, and making sure that we tax the wages of our tip workers in Nevada. So very courageously, Cory Booker has stood strong for those three issues. Here's what he never filibustered for. Here's what the Democrats never filibustered for. The dead bodies of American citizens raped, mutilated, and murdered by the illegal aliens that Joe Biden and his administration and Secretary Mayorkas funneled into our country during the invasion that took place over the last 4 years. They released people into this nation, not people, monsters into this nation that were pedophiles, that were child rapists, that tortured women, that murdered moms and dads, that committed atrocities that we've never seen before in this country. And now they have the temerity to say that every single invader that Joe Biden let in should get their own individual judicial trial before they're deported, one at a time. Each one gets $1 million trial in front of a communist judge to decide whether or not we can send them home. How about hell no? How about we pick them up and we get them out of this country so they can't hurt anyone else?
The witch hunt against Marine Le Pen is another example of European leftists using lawfare to silence free speech and censor their political opponent, this time going so far as to put that opponent in prison. It's the same playbook that was used against me by a group of lunatic and losers like Norm Eisen, Andrew Weissman, and Lisa Monaco. They spent the last 9 years thinking of nothing else, and they failed because the people of the United States realized that they were the only corrupt lawyers and politicians. I don't know Marine Le Pen, but I do appreciate how hard she had worked for so many years. She suffered losses but kept on going, and now, just before what would have been a big victory, they get her on a minor charge that she probably knew nothing about. Sounds like a bookkeeping error to me. It's also bad for France and the great French people, no matter what side you're on. Free Marine Le Pen.
My line in the sand moment was when I found out that GSA had awarded a contract to a company to transport unaccompanied minors.
What was that like for you?
It was like someone kicked me in my gut. Once I found out about the contract, that night, I got on my computer and I started doing a Google search.
Action obligation 40 million, total contract value 347 million. That's over $250 million. That's a lot of money to transport unaccompanied children. I mean, this is a big money business.
And that's why we're sitting here today, because as I shared before, what you know, you cannot unknow.
This is unbelievable. And explain to me how this is not treason. Watch this.
$40 million per week in taxpayer money is ending up in the hands of the Taliban. Cash is flown by charter jets into Afghanistan. It's auctioned off to the Taliban in order to exchange it for the Afghan currency. From there, the Taliban will get it to the NGOs who have to pay taxes on that money. The NGOs have to be approved by the Taliban, and every time the NGOs spend the money, the Taliban will take a cut. When the money is exchanged for the Afghan currency, the Taliban take a cut. The Taliban also determine who can receive foreign aid. Most of the time, these people are either Taliban or Al-Qaeda. These people are the sworn enemies that hate Christians and Jews and treat women like cattle. Why on earth are we allowing U.S. dollars to end up in their hands?
USIP under fire, 13 million funneled to private endowment, Taliban-linked payments uncovered. Each year, the U.S. Institute of Peace, USIP, receives $55 million of your taxpayer funding. But over the past decade, 13 million was quietly transferred to private endowment alongside congressional oversight and used for private events and travel. Did you get invited? I didn't. Now canceled contracts include $132,000 to an ex-Taliban official, $2.2 million to an accountant who tried to delete 1 terabyte of financial data, $1.3 million to an Iraqi youth league, and $675,000 for private aviation. That's a waste that's staggering. United States Institute of Peace accountant paid $2.2 million, deleted 1 terabyte of accounting data. The U.S. Institute of Peace shelled out $2.232500 to an outside accountant who promptly tried to erase over 1 terabyte of financial records once new leadership walked through the door. Fortunately, the data was recovered. Less fortunate, they were also attempted to conceal $675,000 in private jet expenses. Swinging the ball with the big boys, but not earning the dough. Folks, a lot of people pretend they're somebody that they're not. Elon, U.S. Institute of Peace tried to delete Taliban funding records. Elon says the U.S. Institute of Peace deleted 1 terabyte of financial data, linking them to funding Taliban and Iraqi leadership, but Doge wasn't fooled. According to Elon, the agency attempted to scrub the records, but Doge engineers recovered the entire archive thanks to their shocking incompetence with tech. Incompetence, shocking competence, I would think. The data reportedly includes detailed financial transfers tied to groups in Afghanistan and Iraq. No comment yet from the agency. I think AOC is no excuse for why her family's been cashing her dead grandmother's Social Security checks for a decade and a half. We must have just overlooked it. Sure, she did. They overlooked $3,400 a month in deposit from the Social Security Administration every month for 14 and a half years. Yeah, sounds likely.
For the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. The order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign. And
this report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less. The Reinventing Government, or RIGO report, aims to save $108 billion over 5 years through eliminating scores of wasteful programs and regulations. Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
I can end the deficit in 5 minutes. You just pass a law that says that anytime there's a deficit of more than 3% of GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election.
If Donald Trump can convince the Republican Congress to get rid of the income tax for a system of tariffs instead, ladies and gentlemen, the economy will absolutely explode like you have not seen since the Reagan years, maybe bigger. The explosion of capital and investment in the United States and the basically $30,000 or so raise a lot of people are going to get will absolutely blow our economy up like you've never seen before.
Folks, if you've been watching the news lately, the United States, you and I, we're supporting the whole daggone world with the debt that we're incurring, and that's actually caused our currency to collapse. Folks, when you see rising prices, don't think of the things becoming more expensive. Think outside the box. What's actually happening, the value of the currency that we're forced to use keeps going down in value. I mean, why is 25 cents a gallon gone forever? Well, because it's no longer tied to silver anymore. But you take 2.5 times, and guess what you wind up with? More than what it actually takes to buy a gallon of gas. Interesting. Who remembers getting S&H green stamps, having their tire pressure checked, the oil checked, the windows washed? Who remembers all this? All this has been taken away from us. Why? The purchasing power has been taken away by the people issuing the currency, which are tied to the politicians. It's all through the Bank for International Settlements is what's doing all this. And check it out. We talked about this before. Go to bis.org and find out where the central bank hub on the gray search line. Go down two lines. Websites and central bank websites and that kind of stuff. You'll find the second one down. Click on it, and then pick any letter of the alphabet, A through Z. They own all the countries whose banks are in. They own the banks in every country, with the exception of 207 countries that are holding on the purchasing power of most people, because most people are not holding their own purchasing power. The way you hold your own purchasing power is physical, like this, not in digital form, because they take the digital form and they're turning it into physical by making bombs. And breaking, Argentina in final negotiations with the U.S. to become the first zero tariff country. As always, Javier Milei is ahead of the game, every other leader. Klaus Schwab steps down. This is huge news. Watch.
Well, would you look at that? If you guys don't know who Klaus Schwab is, he's very, very bad. But the movie is just playing out perfectly. As my boy at News Treason said, right on schedule. Klaus Schwab steps down, man, and you're seeing the federal financial slave system collapse right on their face, worldwide. What a time to be alive. Buckle up. More's coming.